The NBA is full of confident players that seem to have no fear of their opponents, but even the most confident of players were terrified of Shaquille O'Neal.
What was your first impression of Shaquille O'Neal?
Scary.
Went up and dunked on David Robinson. I thought he broke every bone in this man's body.
Shaq gets away with what I would consider murder.
He did not care. He was mean. He was nasty. He was vindictive.
No, Shaq, oh, yeah! He changed the fucking equipment. Backboards were getting broken.
He brought it down. He brought the whole goal down.
There was not too many people that could withstand my boom boom.
Shaquille O'Neal played with a level of aggression that struck fear into anyone who had to go against him. This is how he became the king of intimidation and what motivated him to become the scariest NBA player ever.
Every now and then a college player comes along who seizes the attention of NBA brass league-wide. LSU's Shaquille O'Neal is such a player.
I tell you what, you can put your whole bench out there and not stop him. You can put all 12 guys around him. Look at him, he says that's unstoppable. Just throw it up to me.
The unbelievable size of Shaq was his most obvious attribute, standing at 7'1" and weighing nearly 300 pounds. 300 pounds of what felt like pure steel to his opponents. But this size and strength was combined with an ability to maneuver that made zero sense for a man of that size.
I'll guarantee Magic Johnson would jump out of his seat watching this. So will Michael Jordan. Remember, we're looking at a 7-footer. We're looking at a guy 270. No, that's scary.
He had speed, he had agility, he had a swiftness to him that shouldn't even be possible with his frame. But the most terrifying of his attributes was his ferocity and his attitude towards his opponents.
No matter who the opponent is, just go out and kill him. If he's small, short, big, fat, tall, just go out and kill him.
Who taught you that?
My father.
Shaquille O'Neal was born in Newark, New Jersey to his mother Lucille O'Neal and Joe Tony. Lucille was 6'1" and Joe was 6'2". Shaq would soon be destined to be a giant. But his biological father, Joe Tony, struggled with addiction and would even spend time in prison. When he got out, he didn't play a role in Shaq's life. Instead, Shaq's stepfather, Phil Harrison, would fill that parental role. Harrison was a sergeant in the Army, and he instilled not just great discipline into Shaq, but also a strong mentality that he would continue to carry on into different aspects of his life, including his favorite sport, basketball. Because of his stepfather's job as a drill sergeant in the Army, Shaq and his family would move around a lot, eventually ending up in Germany. One day while in Germany, Shaq's father came home with some news for young Shaquille.
My father came in the house one day and, "Get your ass up, there's a college coach up there, you might get a scholarship, come listen to him talk." I was 6'9", 6'10", couldn't play, definitely wasn't going to college. But before I go up there, I'm like, I'm talking to a college coach. Let me go in this dictionary and pull out a big word so I seem smart. So the word I chose was extremities. And I go up to him, I said, "Coach, hi, my name is Shaquille O'Neal, sir. Can you send me a program to strengthen my lower extremities?" And Coach Brown looked at me and he said, "Sure, how long you been in the Army, soldier?" I said, "I'm not in the Army, I'm only 13. "What?"
Finding out that this 6'9" giant was just a 13-year-old boy rightfully shocked Dale Brown, head coach of the LSU Tigers. Upon hearing this, he asked to see Shaq's dad immediately so he could offer him a scholarship. As Shaq got older, he of course continued to grow, not just vertically, but also becoming stronger than ever. He was an anomaly to the point that his high school coaches had to give him a new nickname.
Coach Joel Smith and Dave Madura would lovingly refer to me as Big Old Some Bitch. And when we won the state title in 1989 with an impressive 36-0 record, they both called me and said, "You big old son bitch, we love you." I knew you can do it, big old son bitch.
And big old son bitch became impossible to handle even here at the collegiate level. By his junior year, teams had gotten the memo: triple team Shaq or you are getting scored on every single time. The only fair NBA comparison for Shaq at that point was the legendary Wilt Chamberlain. There was never a doubt who would be getting drafted first overall in the upcoming draft. The team with the first overall pick in this draft being the Orlando Magic in Florida, which is one of over 30 states where you can use today's sponsor, Prize Picks, the best place to get real money sports action. Prize Picks has changed the game and made daily fantasy sports accessible to all, with over 10 million members and billions of dollars of awarded winnings. Last season, I went to a game in Indiana with some friends, and we used Prize Picks to create a lineup for the game that we were watching. And my friend Josh, he actually won some money with his, with Anthony Davis getting more than 14 rebounds and Tyrese Halliburton making more than 2.5 threes. Unfortunately for me though, King James didn't come through with the points. But while I show y'all how to use prize picks for daily fantasy sports, I'm gonna make a lineup for today and, try to redeem myself. We gonna see how this goes. With prize picks, it is super easy to use. You just choose between more or less on a stat total for a player. Like for example, right here, I think Anthony Edwards is gonna score more than 27 tonight, so I'm going with this. CP3's also been cooking with the Spurs this season, so I think he's got more than 9 assists in him. And to cap it off, I believe in the Timberwolves defense. RJ Barrett, less than 22 points. And this week, prize picks actually has a Thanksgiving free pick offer that you can use this Thursday, which is Tyreek Hill for more than half a receiving yard. So 1 yard is 1 win. And now's the perfect time to use prize picks because you can download the app today and use code WillSoTrill to get $50 instantly when you play $5. Y'all make sure to check it out. It's my favorite way to play daily fantasy sports. Again, sign up today by downloading the app and using code WillSoTrill to get $50 instantly when you play $5. And of course, thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's see if I won.
With the first pick in the 1992 NBA draft, the Orlando Magic selects Shaquille O'Neal from Louisiana State University.
Well, big smiles right now in Orlando, to say the least.
And that certainly was the least that could be said. The excitement to have Shaquille O'Neal in Orlando was immeasurable. His arrival to the city was celebrated and suddenly everyone wanted to go see the Magic play. But this level of hype came with some serious expectations, even from the game's legends.
I think the best player in the world right now is probably Shaquille O'Neal, other than Michael Jordan, of course. Yeah. But I think once he gets in the league and gets established, he's going to be the same type of player. He's right up there with the best of all of them right now.
Shaquille O'Neal hadn't even stepped foot on an NBA court and was already being called the best player in the world, not named Mike. These seem to be impossibly high standards to meet, but nothing was ever too tall for Shaq.
O'Neal runs the floor, takes it all the way. Is he 7 foot away? My goodness.
Shaq has shown some elite flashes in his first career game versus Miami, scoring 12 points while having 18 rebounds and 3 blocks. The next day in Washington, Shaq dropped 22 with 15 rebounds and 4 blocks, and in game 3 of his career, he had his best performance yet against Charlotte.
5 rebounds for him. Look at this finish.
A dominant performance by Shaq, already establishing himself as the best player on the floor some nights. Just 2 days later, Shaq had himself another dominant game versus Washington, and then he made his presence felt against the New Jersey Nets. Through the first 5 games of the season, it was hard to believe how great Shaq was, averaging 26 points, 16 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game. Numbers and performances so impressive that it earned him the NBA's Player of the Week award. The first player in league history to win Player of the Week his first week in the NBA. And Shaq never slipped up from this hot start. He dominated throughout his entire rookie season.
Transition. Oh, what a dunk. Hey, look at him look back at Morning.
I haven't seen anything like him ever before.
When Shaq came into the league, he had such a great passion and enthusiasm for the game. With his size and strength and mobility, it was something we really hadn't seen.
He really just took the league by storm, but he did it in Shaquille O'Neal style.
He's a very amazing talent, and I think he's the future of the NBA.
Shaquille O'Neal put together one of the greatest rookie seasons the NBA had ever seen. He was selected to the NBA All-Star game and finished the season averaging 23 points, 14 rebounds, and 3.5 blocks per game. The Rookie of the Year award was an easy decision. This man was a superstar, but he was also establishing himself as an incredibly intimidating figure in this league. College kids being scared to go up against him, that all made sense. But now grown men doing this basketball thing for a living were feeling the same way about 20-year-old Shaquille O'Neal.
He is ferocious. He go hard, man.
I think we're going to see a lot of Shaq virus around the league. People are going to come up and say, I don't think I want to play against this guy tonight.
Shaq was also so intimidating that he didn't even get hazed as a rookie. When rookies come into the league, it's tradition that their veteran teammates make the rookies do certain things for their own benefit or their own amusement. Such as the time when Chris Webber thought it would be funny to make rookie Jason Williams ride under the bus with all the luggage on the team's trip from the airport to the hotel. Now, the day Shaq arrived in Orlando, his teammate Scott Skiles did try it with Shaq, and he said to him, "Get my bag, Rook." To which Shaq responded, "I don't do that. I'm the franchise player." From that point on, nobody ever attempted to haze Big Shaq. Not only was he not putting up with it, but nobody wanted to even try him like that. Keep in mind, this is a massive 7'1" man weighing in at 300 pounds with so much strength and force that throughout his rookie season, he was breaking the basket.
Bowie was coming off the bench as Shaquille follows and almost does bring down the entire backcourt.
That's one we haven't seen.
How strong is he? Well, I think this backboard company will attest to it.
Shaq was well aware of his strength and ability to bring down the basket. He had done it in high school, college, and now the NBA. In fact, after Derek Coleman dunked on Shaq early in his rookie season and taunted him afterwards, Shaq said this pissed him off so much that he wanted to bring the basket down the next time he played against Coleman to send him a message. And in the second to last game of the season, he did exactly that.
Puts it on the floor and stops, and he brought it down. He brought the whole goal down.
We have seen the backboard get shattered before, but this man brought the entire basket down with him, and he meant to do it, with Derek Coleman right behind him getting a close-up of Shaq's destruction. The NBA knew that they would have to Shaq-proof all of their equipment moving forward, which would be the first of many changes they'd have to make because of him throughout his career. Shaq described himself as the king of intimidation, which he was nothing short of already as a 20-year-old in this league, striking fear into his opponents who were grown men. But as scary as he was to play against, there was a side to him off the basketball court that you would never be able to expect.
He'd be stretching, let's say, right before practice, and all of a sudden he'd start doing a break dance out of nowhere, and just break everybody up.
I think he loves entertaining people, really let who he is shine through.
It's just something that goes through me. I don't know what it is. I can't control it.
Shaq's personality was paradoxical. He was a huge 7'1" guy that went out on a basketball court with the mission every night to kill every opponent in front of him. But when that buzzer sounded and the game was over, he flipped back to his other self. He was a great athlete, but he was also a natural entertainer, and this made people love Shaq.
That's sort of my personality, to make everybody at ease. Just all around nice guy. Sorry for being nice.
The fact that a guy who was this much of a joy to be around and be in the presence of could flip a switch in the game and become the most menacing player made it all the more scary. You may know him off the court as a fun guy, but when the ball tips off, there's fire in his eyes and he's ready to cause destruction on the basketball court. And heading into year 2 of his career, he would have some motivations to be even more destructive than before. With Shaq being a natural born entertainer, opportunities would gravitate his way. Opportunities that he would take. He'd be in movies, he would make music, he would make appearances in commercials. But while all this was going on, his dedication to basketball was being put into question.
Well, all those Shaq bashers out there said he spent too much time on movies and rap albums.
Why not be shooting free throws when you're shooting the movie, or why aren't you working on another move when you're doing the rap album?
NBA legend George Gervin said regarding Shaq, "You can't do both. You can't rap and play basketball, so he needs to make a decision on whether he wants to play basketball or be a rapper." With all this criticism, Shaq was about to make one hell of a statement in year 2.
Pulls his way against the Robinson.
Shaquille with the rebound.
But Shaq wasn't just bullying and dunking on everyone to get his points. He had added so much more to his game over the offseason.
If you merely just watch the tapes of year 1 to year 2, you'll see a totally different basketball player offensively.
The new and improved Shaquille O'Neal was now an even more unstoppable force than before, averaging 29 points per game on 60% shooting. And he even led the Magic to the NBA playoffs alongside his new teammate Penny Hardaway with a 50-32 record, setting up a first-round matchup with the Indiana Pacers. It was the first playoff series ever in Orlando, and the crowd was alive for Game 1, but they would soon be silenced.
There it is, Wido got for 3.
A game winner for the Pacers meant that the Magic had lost the home court advantage in the series, and the Pacers went on to also take Game 2. The Magic were demoralized and they lost Game 3. Shaq and his Magic swept in round 1.
He was very emotional after the loss in Indianapolis.
He felt that, everything was his fault, of course, because he is our star on the team. Got to come back next year harder.
Shaq had for sure come out even harder for the 1994 to 1995 NBA season. He was an improved player yet again, and he was letting some of the best bigs in the entire NBA know about it. Shaq averaged 29 points per game on the season, the most in the NBA, being declared as the scoring champion, and led the Magic to the #1 seed in the East with 57 wins, an amazing year from Shaq.
It's the first time someone has actually come out and averaged almost 30 points a game, 13 rebounds, 4 or 5 blocks a game, play every single game, take your team to the playoffs, made a movie, made a rap album, made a home video. Maybe he is Superman.
But to truly be Superman, Shaq needed to take this team further into the playoffs, where they had a round 1 matchup with the Boston Celtics. A dominating Game 1 Magic win set the tone for this series early, and the Magic went on to win this series in 4 games. But their second round matchup in the Chicago Bulls were going to be a problem for this young team, having to face off with Michael Jordan. In this series, it will become evident that there was no answer for Michael Jordan, but that was okay, because the Bulls had no answer for Shaquille O'Neal.
O'Neal with the step. Home by O'Neal.
And Shaquille O'Neal throws one down over the head of Michael Jordan.
Heading into Game 5 in Orlando, this series was tied up at 2 games apiece. The Magic, with an opportunity to take a pivotal game at home, and with a great all-around team game, they did just that. They had Michael Jordan's Bulls on the ropes heading into Game 6, a game where Shaq looked to establish himself as the man to beat now in the Eastern Conference.
Look at Scottie and Michael go flying by Shaquille. Getting arrested, and again, Scottie Pippen. Oh, look at Shaq with a steal. Look at him handling in the court. Oh, my goodness, Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaq made his presence felt in this game, forcing MJ into a turnover in a clutch that would ultimately seal the win. The Orlando Magic had taken down the Chicago Bulls. But in the Eastern Conference Finals, it was the team who embarrassed the Magic last year in the first round, a shot of revenge for Shaq. And he completely dominated to kick off this series, with 32 in Game 1 and 39 in Game 2, giving the Magic a quick 2-0 series lead. But the Pacers came right back with 2 wins of their own to even this one up. Shaq had another dominant performance in Game 5, which secured a win for the Magic, but again, the Pacers even this one back up. We were headed to a Game 7 with a spot in the NBA Finals on the line. Shaq was ready to claim that spot. With last year's result in mind, he was seeking revenge.
Rebound, Shaquille O'Neal. It will count. And the foul.
The Pacers did everything they could, sending double teams to Shaq, but he had counters to that now. There was no answer for this man. The Orlando Magic and Shaquille O'Neal were NBA Finals bound. But Shaq and some of his Orlando Magic teammates had already started the celebrations before the NBA Finals even began. Shaq and Dennis Scott were going to different cities in private jets and partying. Shaq had the mindset of, we just beat Michael Jordan and we got Houston in the finals. I'm about to get my first ring. This would be a huge mistake. Because if there was one big man that Shaq couldn't get the best of, it was Hakeem Olajuwon, as he outplayed Shaq in the NBA Finals series that ended in a sweep in favor of the Rockets. The Magic and Shaq lacked focus and preparation. They celebrated far too early. By the way, it's come to my attention that 97% of y'all watching are not subscribed to the channel, which is crazy because y'all missing out on some more elite videos just like this one right here. Go ahead and subscribe so you never miss out and help me reach my goal of 100,000 subs. I appreciate all y'all. Also, for updates on videos and things like that, y'all go follow me on Instagram and Twitter. It's always cool to interact with everyone over there. The next season, the Orlando Magic built on this run to the NBA Finals, winning 60 games in the regular season, good for the second best record in the Eastern Conference. In the playoffs, they swept the Detroit Pistons, beat the Hawks in 5 before meeting up with the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan once again here in the Eastern Conference Finals. But this Bulls team was different, having won 72 games in the regular season, an NBA record. And this time it was Jordan seeking revenge in the conference finals. Jordan rarely ever failed to get his revenge, and this series would also go in his favor in a sweep. But here in the 1996 offseason, Shaq's contract had expired with the Orlando Magic, and with the Magic not giving Shaq the money he wanted, he was headed out to Hollywood to play for the Los Angeles Lakers.
I was familiar with LA because I had the opportunity to go out to LA and do movies and do albums and do commercials, and LA made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
The Los Angeles Lakers were a franchise of rich history, and Shaq had high expectations coming here.
With Abdul-Jabbar and Will Chamberlain, we won a championship here. And with Shaquille O'Neal, we're going to win another championship.
Jerry West had a ton of confidence in this Lakers team that he built, not just because of Shaq, but the 18-year-old high school kid he had just traded for in the NBA draft, Kobe Bryant. Jerry West told Shaq about Kobe and told him that they would win a lot together. Shaq knew that this kid could develop into something special, but he had no idea how quickly Kobe would gain his respect.
The guys were complaining. I said, Shaq, Kobe's not passing the ball. I said, I'll talk to him. I said, Kobe, there's no I in team. Kobe said, I know, but there's an in me in that motherfucker.
So he kept going to the free throw line and kept missing them. And so he throw the ball out to me. I'm not throwing that shit back in there. I kept shooting him, right? So we get in the timeout and he's like, hey, dude, you got to throw me the ball. I said, man, fuck that. Get it off the rebound if I miss, bro.
Shaq saw right away that this 18-year-old kid played with the same fire and confidence as him. And as scary as it is to stand up to Shaq, Kobe was the only one that ever did it as the two got into a fight. But this fight didn't ruin their relationship. It only built Shaq's respect for him up even more because nobody ever stood up to him like that. And it became evident to Shaq that this would be the man that he was going to win championships with. And over the years, Shaq and Kobe would become an amazing duo. But by the end of 1999, they had nothing to show for it when it came to postseason success. Losing to the Jazz in 1999 1997, losing to the Jazz again in 1998, and then getting swept by the Spurs in 1999. Everyone knew Shaq was an incredible player, but he still had nothing to show for it after the 7th year of his NBA career.
Right now they say, oh, Shaq can do this, he can do that, but he hasn't won a championship yet.
So that's basically the most important thing to you right now is winning a championship.
I have 10 fingers and no rings, and I love jewelry.
Over the 1999 offseason, the Lakers made a significant move that would help them to take the leap to becoming a championship team, bringing in 6-time championship winning head coach Phil Jackson. And Phil had 6 rings on his fingers for a reason. He knew how to get the best out of star players, and he planned on doing the same with Shaq and Kobe. With Shaq, he was going to demand him to get a lot more serious about the game as well as getting in the best shape of his career. He had a challenge for him.
You know, when I came here, I wanted Shaq to, get serious about an MVP trophy. I said that is something that should have his name etched on it.
There was no more messing around. Phil Jackson was about to make the scariest player in the league even more of a menace.
That's what they're trying to make the decisions on right now in the half-court set.
Oh! A facial served up by Shaquille O'Neal. Jackson's foul, draws it up and sends it inside.
O'Neal, a little spin move with a dunk.
Shaquille O'Neal was completely dominating the 1999 to 2000 NBA season. He had added so much to his game, along with some added strength, now playing at 345 pounds. There wasn't a player in the league that could hold him. He was too big, too strong, and now too skilled with his go-to moves for anyone to have an answer. But during the game against the Clippers on March 6th, which was Shaq's birthday, he really put his dominant game on display. Although coming into the game, he didn't really plan on that.
Clippers, we always manhandled and beat them, so that day I said, you know what, since I got a party tonight, I'm gonna let Rick Fox and Kobe and those guys take over. I ain't gonna do nothing.
Shaq's plan for the day was to set up everything for his party after the game, and in the game he planned on getting some quick fouls so he wouldn't have to play that much.
So the game start and the Clippers are killing us, right? Clippers are killing us, and then Phil, he starts yelling at me. And all the guys start looking at me, so I'm like, all right, give me the ball.
Shaq backs in, turn, shoot, 8-foot jumper, and that's into Shaq. He's under the basket, he puts it up, finger rolls it in.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar I guess he was a special assistant coach. So I got the ball one time and I, shot like a little sky hook, just to pay homage to him. And he did me like this, Ernie. He put his head down. So now I'm super pissed. It seemed to me like he was talking to the guys and like, oh, don't let him do this. You got to play him like this. You can't play him. So I'm like, oh, okay, you going to teach him how to stop me. Watch this. So like every time I did a move, I would look at him and he'd just go. He just put his head. He never looked at me.
From this point on, Shaq demanded the ball all night long. Before the game, he wanted to take it easy. But when Shaq is pissed off, he's pissed off.
Pass under to Shaq, slam dunk. Shaq's got it underneath, slam dunk. Kobe underneath, gives to Shaq. Shaq slam dunk.
Shaq finished the game with a new career high 61 points.
And then it was a hell of a party, Ernie.
Shaq finished this season just shy of 30 points per game, the most in the league, with 13 rebounds and 3 blocks a game to go along with it. Phil Jackson challenged him to elevate his game to an MVP level, and Shaq did exactly that, leading the Lakers to a 67-win season and being named the MVP. In the playoffs, the Lakers would have high expectations. It was championship or bust now, and they began the playoffs taking down the Kings in 5 and the Phoenix Suns in 5. But in the Western Conference Finals, the Lakers struggled against the Portland Trail Blazers. They were up 3-1 in the series, but after losing 2 straight games, this thing was headed to a Game 7. And for Shaq and the Lakers in this Game 7, it was looking bad. The Portland Trail Blazers were completely outplaying them. The fans in Staples Center watching their team in silence as they let this 3-1 lead slowly slip away, down 13 points entering the 4th quarter. The Lakers had been 1 win away from the finals for 3 straight games now. They couldn't blow this chance, and they flipped the switch. Through smothering defense and capitalizing on their offensive opportunities, the Lakers slowly chipped away at this deficit, with their MVP eventually giving them the advantage. With under a minute to go, the Lakers needed to put this game away for good, and the best duo in basketball were here to deliver.
At that time, I had my first son, little Sharif. A lot of people see me running and pointing up, so I was just pointing up to him, letting him know that, hey, your daddy is Superman.
And this was Shaq's first time in the NBA Finals since 1995, a painful memory for him. But this time, Shaq didn't spend his free time partying ahead of the series. He had a much different approach now.
After the emotional Portland game, I go down to my theater, and I got the 94-95 Finals. And I watched all 4 games, watching how I played and how I looked, and then watching the after effects.
As I'm watching the game, I'm just taking my head off and I'm just throwing anger in there. Just taking up old articles. Shaq ain't nothing, he'll never win it. I remember all that, and I got it in my head.
History has shown that a pissed off Shaq was the scariest Shaq, and he reminded himself of everything that angered him ahead of the 2000 final series against the Indiana Pacers. This team would be in for a nightmare.
He takes it in deep, and you can't stop that, showing early signs of just overpowering the Pacers in the paint. In the sixth, he's chipped in with 5. O'Neal's turnaround, well, if he's going to hit that, in addition to overpowering you inside, you might as well wave the white flag of surrender.
Waving the white flag would have been the Pacers' best course of action in this game because Shaquille O'Neal was unstoppable, dropping 43 points on 67% shooting with 19 rebounds in the Game 1 blowout win. The Pacers' Shaq problem continued in the Game 2.
Shaq, they get it deep to him, and there's no way in the world that Perkins can contend with that.
Despite trying everything they could against Shaq, even intentionally fouling him, he still found a way to dominate, 40 points and 24 rebounds in another win. Despite still not having an answer for Shaq in Game 3, the Pacers came away with a win, but it was becoming clear that they would have to continue to win like this. There was never going to be an answer for Shaq. As in Game 4, he dominated once again, 36 points and 21 rebounds, this time in a winning effort, one win away from the NBA title he was desperately craving. Even though Shaq had a 35-point effort in Game 5, the Lakers were blown out, but Shaq wasn't allowing this series to go on any longer.
The lob to Shaq, gathers it in and scores. Kobe into traffic, hands it to O'Neal. O'Neal spinning and scoring +1. Kobe Bryant off balance, and Shaquille O'Neal is there. How about that? He's got 40.
Shaq put on another dominant display, his third 40-point game of the series, enough to secure himself a championship ring.
Shaquille O'Neal did it by averaging 38 points and 16 rebounds for the finals. To the unanimous MVP of the 2000 finals, Shaquille O'Neal.
I just want to say thank y'all for believing in us, and we're going to get one next year too.
But Shaq's actions over the offseason were not aligning with that statement, or at least Kobe didn't think so. Kobe was upset that Shaq had shown up to training camp out of shape, who had spent all summer relaxing after the championship and now weighing in at what Shaq said was 385 pounds. On the contrary, Kobe Bryant spent his entire offseason working on his game, taking no days to relax. So he came out the next season looking to show everybody how much better he had gotten. But this would lead to the egos of these two superstar players clashing. The one man who was never intimidated by Shaquille O'Neal was the one Shaq was starting to have some problems with. But a part of getting Phil Jackson to Los Angeles was dealing with the egos of Kobe and Shaq that would inevitably end up clashing, and getting them to come together on the basketball court, which is exactly what always seemed to happen. As in the 2001 playoffs, the Lakers swept the Portland Trail Blazers in round 1, swept the Sacramento Kings in round 2, and swept the San Antonio Spurs in round 3. The Lakers had made the NBA Finals once again, but this time without losing a single game on the way there. There was no stopping Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. On the other side of the Lakers in the finals, the MVP Allen Iverson and the Philadelphia 76ers.
When we played them, we could have got them. But we ran into Shaquille O'Neal in his prime. Couldn't nobody do nothing with Shaq.
And that included the 2001 Defensive Player of the Year winner, Dikembe Mutombo.
And here's Shaq. Going right at Dikembe Mutombo. Shaq again getting down. On the Sixers. Shaq again.
There was nothing Mutombo could do about Shaq in this one. He was simply overpowered, scoring 44 points in Game 1 to go with 20 rebounds. But it was actually Philadelphia who won the game, as Allen Iverson scored 48 points. Iverson's heroics were incredible in Game 1, but in order to beat the best duo in basketball, he was gonna have to do that about 3 more times. But he couldn't. The Lakers took Game 2 behind an unreal Shaq performance, 28 points, 20 rebounds, 9 assists, and 8 blocks, showing Iverson that he owned the paint. Shaq continued to go right at Dikembe throughout this series, and to be fair to Dikembe, he didn't back down from this. But that ultimately didn't even matter. Not even the NBA's best defender had the answers to the NBA's biggest problem. how to stop Shaquille O'Neal. Behind 30 points from Shaq in Game 3 and 34 points from Shaq in Game 4, the Lakers were a win away from yet another NBA title. The 76ers were beat down and demoralized over these last 3 games, and they finally folded in Game 5. The Lakers had won another NBA championship and another Finals MVP added to Shaq's trophy case after the most dominant run to the championship in league history. Over the offseason, Shaq continued to get even bigger, now according to himself weighing at 415 pounds. Just when you thought Shaq couldn't get any bigger or stronger, he has somehow found a way.
And the more I get strong, and the more stronger I get, nobody can stop me.
A statement that continued to be true, with Shaq holding down his title as the best and most intimidating player in the sport. And on the quest for a 3rd straight NBA championship in 2002, Shaq and the Lakers swept the Blazers in round 1, beat the Spurs in round 2, and had a series set with the league's #1 team, Sacramento Kings, in the Western Conference Finals. Kings center Vlade Divac saying the Lakers wouldn't be able to win this series without home court advantage. And unfortunately for the Lakers, it looked like he was right. The Kings took a 3-2 series lead, the Lakers with their backs against the wall. Kobe called Shaq the night before Game 6 and told him, "Big man, let's make history." And Shaq responded with 41 points in Game 6 to force a Game 7 in Sacramento. Shaq answered the call in this game as well, scoring 35 in the overtime win to make the NBA Finals. And Shaq ended up using his musical talents to send a message to Vlade Divac.
Winning a championship, take everything you got. Sacramento, they thought it was the year, but I'm telling you it's not. Vlade said if we don't have home court advantage, we won't win. What? Vlade, are you stupid? I'll tell you time again. You need to go when they know your name. And the Lakers, we know how to play the game. You said that we would win at your place. Guess what? Kobe dunked it in your face. You need to go where people know your name.
But now in their 3rd straight NBA Finals, it was time to get back to business for the Lakers as they would face the New Jersey Nets. But the Nets had themselves a significant weakness in this series. They had nobody that could even do a half-decent effort in defending Shaq. Kenyon Martin was one of the unfortunate players who had to participate in the team effort of defending Shaq.
What was it like having to guard a guy like Shaq?
Impossible.
Gets it inside. This is where the mismatch is in the series. The glaring gap. O'Neal backing his way. Tail is a beast today. I'm shooting every time I touch it.
All of this will do nothing. All of this will do nothing but make me mad.
O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal.
No matter what the Nets did, they couldn't find a way to even limit Shaq, with Shaq averaging 36 points and 12 rebounds a game across the series, which ended in a sweep. 3 straight NBA titles for the Lakers, 3 straight Finals MVPs for Shaquille O'Neal. Throughout his prime, teams tried everything in their power to stop Shaq, teams even assembling their roster with the thought of him in mind.
With the Shaq shit, there was no fucking guarding him. They changed how you had to construct your roster. You had to have 2 or 3 bigs just for fucking fouls. He has been the most dominant player in the history of the game of basketball, period.
Teams also, of course, tried throwing a bunch of bodies at Shaq to slow him down, to no avail. Even with game plans like these, with the biggest of bigs like Sean Bradley, nothing worked out. Shaq faced some of the tallest centers in NBA history, 7'7" Manute Bol, 7'6" Sean Bradley, and even 7'6" Yao Ming. None of them could contend with Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, what was your first impression of Shaquille O'Neal?
Well, it's almost like a rhino on there on the court to play against. A couple of years ago I went to Africa to see a real rhino, but it's not much of a difference.
No matter the size of the opponent, Shaq struck fear into everyone. The scariest thing about being an NBA player in the early 2000s was being told you have to go guard Shaquille O'Neal. In 2002, the NBA legalized zone defense, with Shaq being completely unstoppable being a big reason why it was legalized. Teams would now be able to crowd him in the paint with multiple defenders much easier. The league would also instate dislodging rules, where offensive players wouldn't be allowed to use their hip or arms to dislodge a defender in the post. Teams had spent over a decade trying to figure out an answer for Shaquille O'Neal, but all along there was only 2 answers: changing the rules of the game and Father Time itself. All that weight Shaq put onto his body to be as much of a force as he was may have eventually worked against him in the long run, as injuries began to stack up and his game gradually tapered off. But one thing is for certain, there was nothing more scary on an NBA court than big old some bitch in his prime. He was an absolute menace, destroying everything there was in his path. But underneath this menacing act on the basketball court was one of the most pure motivations.
Our sole dream was to be able to buy my mother anything she wants. So when I'm playing, I'm on that court, you can't outplay me, because if you are, you're taking my mother's house away. I will damn near kill you before I let you take my mother's house away. So there's nothing anybody can do, ever.
Shaq became the most dominant player to ever play the game of basketball, all to make sure that his mother would have the world. That's what pushed him to be unstoppable. And the Boston Celtics recently built an unstoppable NBA team that went on to win the NBA championship. Check out this video to see the masterminds behind this team's construction.